I'm Joan Heminway. I'm a professor of law from the University of Tennessee College of Law. Today I'm talking about my Business Enterprises casebook, which I co-author with Doug Branson from Pittsburgh, Mark Lowenstein from Colorado, Mark Steinberg from SMU, and Manning Warren from Louisville. Our casebook is a great soup to nuts casebook for teaching a business associations course, but because it's been drafted by 5 of us with varying different levels of practice experience and varying different teaching experiences, it has 5 different voices, which I think makes it a really unique resource for people. One of the virtues of having a 5-authored casebook is that because each of us does have a slightly different experience, my view is that people who've had long practice experiences, people who've had shorter practice experiences, people who are more theoretically connected to the law, people who are more connected to the policy of the law, people who love cases, people who don't love cases to teach from, can all find something in this casebook. We have 5 co-authors on this casebook, which I think is an incredible advantage. Some of us have really long practice experiences, some of us have long teaching experiences, some of us are more engaged with and interested in securities regulation in addition to corporate law. One of us is a professional responsibility expert in the business law area. So I think as among the 5 of us, we bring a lot of different perspectives to the material just in putting it together. But then, of course, the cross-pollination of all of us talking to each other about the chapters, reading each other's chapters, editing each other's chapters, brings a richness. So we've got 5 different voices in this book, somehow blended together. So for students, for instructors, there's probably something in it for everybody. Our book has a teacher's manual that we actually spent a fair amount of time on, a labor of love, I know, for all casebook authors. One of the things that we tried to do was take each chapter author and have that author draft the teaching materials in the teacher's manual for that particular chapter, starting with the introductory materials and weaving them through the cases and the other materials in the chapter to the problems, so that we were able to get, I think, a really comprehensive teaching tool. Our book does have a really unique set of characteristics in terms of the content in certain respects. One of the things that I like about it is that the chapter authors have tried to introduce some comparative teaching methods so that in an increasingly global world, we're able to bring material from other countries to students. We get very ethnocentric, I think, in the United States about our law, and yet a lot of our students are doing cross-border practice. Students, not just in the New York and Los Angeles and other more internationally focused markets, but really from all over the country are doing cross-border commercial and business transactions. So this helps at least introduce some cultural and legal materials from other countries. I admit that I teach the material in the casebook out of order some years. So I know that there are certain parts of the book that are more modular and can be used in different order depending on the focus of the instructor. There also are some chapters that can be skipped. One of the other unique features of the casebook is that our last chapter, for example, is on business law in an ethical professional responsibility context. Some books do not focus on that at all. They leave that to a traditional course in professional responsibility. But our book has that additional chapter. Some authors may not find that that's something that their students are going to benefit from independent of a professional responsibility course, so that can clearly be left out. There are other areas of the book, though, too, where we, for example, do a bunch of securities regulation materials because one of our authors, Mark Steinberg, is a particular expert in that area, and a number of us have teaching experience in that area and practice experience in that area. Two of us were regulators. Mark Steinberg was with the SEC, and Mark Lowenstein worked with the Colorado Securities Board, if I recall correctly. And I did a securities and M&A practice. So there are a number of us on the book who've had some practice experience in those areas. So we tend to teach securities. I like to teach mergers and acquisitions, and that's one of the chapters that I drafted. So I think that there are some chapters that other authors might say, well, I don't want to teach M&A, I don't have enough time for that, it's only a 3-credit-hour course, or securities regulation, I don't want to maybe get in that deep, I'll assign some pieces of that chapter and not all of it. Our teacher's manual actually raises some of those concerns. In one case, one of the chapters that I've drafted, I've said if you don't have time to cover this chapter, you might want to just assign the first few pages of the introduction. So I think there are a lot of things between the teacher's manual and the book itself that enable teaching the book in different pieces. I personally have gotten a number of requests for materials from people who are using the book. And I actually, in one of my teacher's manual chapters, suggest that if you want PowerPoint slides on a particular topic, you should contact me. So yes, and I think my other 4 co-authors are also very accepting of requests from adopters of the book for materials. The co-authors of the casebook and myself, our Business Enterprises casebook, are folks that I find really accessible. The fact that we're still friends at the end of this process, I think, makes it an important thing for our adopters to know that we can be reached, that we do have different practice experiences, and we're happy to be helpful. If one of us is not the right person to contact, we can surely find somebody else out of the group of the 5 of us who can help adopters with any issues that they're having with the book.